Welcome back to Traveling Dice. I'm Jason. In today's video, I have a battle report of the third scenario for our Path to Glory campaign. This is a campaign played amongst my Warhammer group, and we're getting together sporadically. In fact, it's been several months, so you're going to get an occasional update here, but there's 4 of us playing in this particular campaign. So I have 3 opponents, so I'll have 3 battle reports that'll be coming out over the next few weeks. In my first match here, I go against the Khorne Warband. And this scenario is Breakthrough. So my warband by far is the smallest. It's the most elite. And in retrospect, I don't think that this was a great way to go. I didn't read through the scenarios, all the way through. I kind of just been taking them as they come. And it seems like numbers are really helpful. No excuses here, I'm still in a spot to do all right. But in this particular scenario, it's a breakthrough scenario. And you're going to determine randomly whether you're the attacker or the defender. In the case that you're the attacker, you're trying to accomplish one of 2 things. You're either getting your opponent to rout, completely wiping your opponent off the table, or as the attacker, you're getting 1/3 of your models all the way across and off of the opposite end of the battlefield. And if you're the defender, then you're trying to stop your opponent from doing that and ultimately getting them to rout, or you're wiping them off the table to gain a victory. So I end up being the attacker in this first match. I'm not sure which one I'm really better suited at, so this seems as good an outcome as any. I decide to keep my forces together and compact, and I deploy along my right flank and see what my opponent does. He has the opportunity to really kind of surround me because I'm outnumbered here. So going from left to right, I've got my level 1. He's on Lore of Fire. He's using the signature spell. I have a nice block of Chaos Warriors. All of them have great weapons except for one who's armed with a flail. I have my Chaos Troll, my Champion, my Plague Bearer, and my Chosen with Flail. My opponent deploys just right across from me, really close proximity here for this scenario. In his warband, he has a Chaos Warhound. He has 6 Marauders with hand weapon and shield. He has a Chaos Ogre with additional hand weapon, a Minotaur with a great weapon. He has a block of 4 Marauders with additional hand weapon, and he has a Chosen with additional hand weapon. His Chaos Champion is decked out like all of ours are at this point. The real threat, though, from his champion is that he has Killing Blow. So I have to be mindful of this. I do have a 5 aboard save, but that Killing Blow can just wipe me out in 1 hit. So I know that that's a risk. But other than that, I feel like my champion is a little bit superior, a little bit more punchy than my opponent's. So as the attacker, I get to go first, and I am going to have a little cautious advance here. Cautious and yet kind of risky at the same time. I move up my champion. I move up my troll, and I'm moving these 2 units up so that they are deliberately within charge range. They're going to be in charge range of my opponent's champion, potentially his Minotaur, potentially his ogres, potentially a long bomb charge from other stuff as well, but particularly the champion here. Now it's a risk, but I kind of felt like if I could get my opponent to charge me with his champion and I kill him, I feel like I just have the upper hand the rest of the scenario. And, it's definitely not guaranteed. He could come in, he could just wipe me out with Killing Blow. I could flub my attacks. So this is a risk, but I felt like if I don't get Killing Blowed, I'm in great shape is kind of what I'm thinking. And if I can beat him, then it's just downhill from there. Shouldn't have too much of a problem dealing with his other items or his other units. Hop over to the magic phase, and I go and roll boxcars for the magic phase. Now, you might be thinking, oh, awesome, boxcars, you got 12 power dice. Yeah, in a bigger game, it's time for celebration, but when you just have a level 1, boxcars is kind of the last thing that you want. You can only use 6 of those dice, and you may not even want to throw 6 dice at your single spell and risk the miscast, and your opponent's going to have the same number of dispel dice that you are at that point. So it's kind of a bummer here. I go for a boosted fireball, fully boosted, the 3d6, and I'm going to sling this thing at the Minotaur. I get the spell off. My opponent uses his Chaos Khorne ability to automatically dispel it. So, could be worse. I got through that at least. It's a one-use thing. So I knew that I was going to have to deal with that. So getting that out the first turn, and then I won't have to worry about it moving forward. So over to my opponent's turn, and he charges my champion with his champion and the Minotaur. And I'm thinking, great, this is what I want. Bring him to me. I don't have to chase him down. I don't have to worry about maneuvering around him or dealing with him. Just bring him to my grinder here. I'm pleased with this. Maybe a little naively in retrospect here. The Minotaur is not going to be much of an impact. He's going to have the opportunity to do an impact hit. So long as I don't take that wound, I'm going to be in a challenge with my opponent's champion. So I'm thinking this is great. The rest of my opponent's troops don't move all that much, and we go over to combat. Now, I didn't factor in the fact that my opponent is charging down a hill. So this is going to give him an extra +1 in the combat res. I don't think, had I realized it, it would have changed my strategy. I feel pretty good about my odds here. So, my opponent comes in. He doesn't do an impact hit wound with the Minotaur. So far, so good. I've got just a bucket full of attacks. I have a total of 4 attacks with Frenzy, and I managed to get 1 wound through, which is disappointing. I was expecting to do more, and my opponent does 2 wounds, despite the fact that I have a 2-up armor save and a 5-up ward save. I believe my opponent is strength 5, so my armor save is going to a 4-up and a 5-up ward save. So, I just flub those saves. I don't do well on my attacks. And at this point, I'm looking at a break test of 5 or less, which I fail, and I get run down. This was the risk when I did this maneuver, so I knew this was a possible outcome, and now I'm on the back foot. But we're not giving up. We're going to fight on. So we bounce back over to my turn, and now it's just throw caution to the wind, and I'm flying forward here. My opponent's most threatening things are at this point behind me, and I want to start moving towards the opposite table edge. My best chance of victory is getting my unit of Chaos Warriors to the opposite side of the battlefield. I'm not feeling great about my odds of wiping my opponent out, and yeah, I think that is my path to victory here. My Sorcerer is just going to hang tight. He's going to tuck into that corner, try to blast some things with spells. The Minotaur's there. It's a great target. He only has light armor, strength 4. My opponent's champion is also potentially a good target. He's already damaged. So yeah, hopefully that guy can come through for me is what I'm thinking, and move everybody up. The Chaos Chosen goes up on the left flank with the Plague Bearer to support. Unfortunately, the Troll is going to be stuck on his own leadership for the remainder of the game here, and I'm hoping at some point maybe he'll pass that and I'll be able to charge, but I don't think he actually passes one a single game, which is, kind of to be expected. He's only leadership 4. During my magic phase, I roll Snake Eyes for the Winds of Magic, so from one extreme to the other. This is also bad. I have only 2 dice. I should be able to get the spell off, but I'm not going to be able to boost it. So I just do a regular Fireball, D6 Strength 4 hits. I target the Minotaur, thinking maybe I could get a couple wounds through, and I don't get any damage through. So a disappointing magic phase. So during my opponent's turn, he declares a charge on my Chosen with his Chosen and his block of Marauders. Unfortunately for my opponent, not both of those units were able to fit in, so he just sends the Chosen in. He also charges the Ogre into my Chaos Warriors. So the Chaos Warriors should do pretty well in this fight, but the Chaos Ogre is going to have the opportunity to do an impact hit. He's going to have the opportunity to strike before my guys with great weapons. So taking some wounds there would really hurt my chances of potentially winning the scenario by getting across, because I really am counting on that unit at that point. Then my opponent maneuvers around his champion and his Minotaur for future charges. We go over to the close combat phase, and my Chosen just provides a one-way dirt nap ticket for my opponent's Chosen. That's awesome. And my opponent's Ogre doesn't do any damage to the Chaos Warriors, and they manage to beat that guy down as well. So a couple of things are going my way here. Going over to my turn, I declare a charge with the Chaos Warriors on a block of Marauders who flee. Not ideal. They get away. And then I declare a charge on the other Marauders with my Chaos Chosen and my Plague Bearer. My opponent holds there. So maneuvering around the Troll, of course, fails his stupidity. And my Sorcerer is just clinging on to life there in the corner. His days are numbered for sure. Onto my magic phase, I managed to get a boosted fireball 2d6 onto my opponent's Minotaur. I'm thinking, great. Odds are this should kill him. And you can see my pitiful to wound roll right here. I get 2 wounds through, which is 1 too few. This guy's still alive, and he is still going to be a thorn in my side. Not much damage really going on in this combat here between the Chosen Plaguebearer against the Marauders. But I do take a guy out, I break him, and I pursue with both. I don't catch him, which is unfortunate, but at least my guys are kind of moving in the right direction. They're angled off there. They're not going directly towards the ultimate goal, but they are moving, and things are happening. During my opponent's turn, the Minotaur fails his frenzy check and charges the Troll. This is awesome. Troll can finish this guy off, I'm thinking. Perfect. I got regen, so I should be able to absorb a lot of attacks from the Minotaur and just polish that guy off. Couldn't have asked for a better result. The Marauders continue to flee. My opponent's champion does charge my sorcerer, which was kind of inevitable. Yeah, that guy is going to take a dirt nap here in a second. And my opponent rallies the Marauders that had fled from the Chaos Warriors. It's interesting, they're actually in a position for a long bomb charge by my Chaos Warriors, so I'm kind of intrigued by that. My opponent's Warhound is kind of chilling by this building here. He's thinking about maybe getting in the fray at some point. No surprise, my opponent's champion makes quick work of my sorcerer. We go over to the combat between the Minotaur and the Troll, and the Troll doesn't do any damage to the Minotaur, and the Troll gets broken. He somehow gets away, but man, what an opportunity wasted. And the Troll's just going to be a non-factor moving forward. So on my turn, I have the opportunity at a 6/6 charge at the Marauders with my unit of Chaos Warriors. And I really think that this is a potential game-winning charge if I make it. It's not guaranteed. My opponent still has some really fast stuff. So the Minotaur is fast. My opponent's champion is mounted. He's very fast. But if I make this charge, I am moving 16 inches towards my objective, and it's a very favorable combat where I should win. And if I win and I break my opponent, or potentially just kill him outright, then I'll have the opportunity to either do another pursuit roll or an overrun. So if that is also a decent number, then I think I might be out of reach for my opponent, and then I'll be able to get across. So granted, all of this is being based on being able to roll boxcars for a charge, but I think it's for the win, and I'm excited about that because, I don't know, it seems like, and maybe I'm a little superstitious in this regard, but like when it lines up, it's like, oh, boxcars gives me the win. I just get this feeling like I'm going to roll boxcars. Now, I didn't. I failed the charge, so wah-wah, but I do advance then with the Plaguebearer and the Chosen, and yeah, I'm in a rough spot here still, but still moving towards the objective, fighting on. On my opponent's turn, the Minotaur fails his frenzy check and tries to charge the Chaos Warriors, which I really hate this rule. They're skirmishing, and the rule states that a skirmishing unit, when you declare a charge on it, it closes down and it collapses its ranks. Sometimes this makes for a situation where a unit, according to the rules, can see the skirmishing unit, but then when they close down, they can no longer see them due to the arc of sight. And yeah, I just really despise this rule. But rules as written, letter of the law, it's a failed charge, which is how we play it. Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity potentially for a house rule. But that is the way it works officially. So the failed charge probably in my benefit here, but still don't like it. My opponent's Chaos Warhound declares a charge against my Troll, who's already fleeing, so he has to flee, and he's heading off towards the table edge. He doesn't go off the table edge, but he is going to get run down by my opponent's Chaos Hound. My opponent's Chaos Warriors with additional hand weapon declare a charge on the Plaguebearer, and you see the Chaos Warhound there taking out my Troll. Sadly, had big hopes for that guy. Not terribly surprising, my Plaguebearer goes down to the Chaos Warriors who had a rear charge against him. On my turn, I continue to try to maneuver my troops towards the other table edge. I still have hope here, although I can see that my opponent's gaining on me with his heavy hitters. And indeed, on my opponent's turn, he positions his Minotaur and his champion in for a charge on my Chaos Warrior block. My only hope of winning really is that Chaos Warrior block. At this point, though, it looks like they're not going to make it across. They're going to have to win by just beating my opponent in combat. My Chaos Chosen with Flail gets charged by my opponent's remaining 2 Chaos Warriors with additional hand weapon, and he's actually going to fare pretty well in that combat there. He's going to win, and I still have him too, so he's a threat. With the Flail, he's going to strike before anything with a great weapon like the Minotaur if that thing survives, and, you know, he's also a threat even to my opponent's Chaos Champion. In subsequent rounds, my Chaos Warriors do get charged by the Minotaur and my opponent's champion, although I continue to advance in my turn, but they are definitely within range, and it's a pretty easy charge for both of them. Unfortunately, my Flail Chaos Warrior is not in base contact with the Minotaur. I would have loved to kill that guy before he had the opportunity to attack. Because he has a great weapon, which is the same as my other Chaos Warriors, they're going to go at the same time. So I'm going to kill that Minotaur, but he is going to definitely do just boatloads of damage to my guys, unfortunately. And the Chaos Champion does survive that combat, which is unfortunate. At this point, all I have left is my Chaos Chosen with Flail. And, you know, maybe I should route at this point. It's unlikely that I'm going to win. I mean, I would have to just grind through my opponent's champion. He's got some Marauders going around. So it would take a fair amount of luck to still somehow pull out a win. I would have to just totally decimate my opponent's forces. But I don't know. It's just not in me to give up in this situation. It's not completely hopeless. I would need some luck on my side. And I just stick him in front of my opponent's champion and say, come get some. My opponent, being a good sport, goes in there, and yeah, sadly, the Chaos Chosen gets beat down. We go to the aftermath. I don't get much favor from this. I didn't do particularly well. My opponent gets 10 favor points, which is just a bucketful, and you get a bunch of bonus ones for just wiping your opponent's entire warband off the map. So I should have probably factored that into my decision whether or not I wanted to route. I end up with 4 favor points, and you get 2 just for playing the game. And I got another 2 for killing a model that had 3 or more wounds. So it was nice that I got that Minotaur towards the end. And I had to roll for everybody on my warband. So on a D6 roll of 1, you're on a regular troop type, anybody but your champion, your guy's dead. You can spend a favor point and re-roll that. So I go to roll for my sorcerer and I roll a 1. So I'm definitely spending a favor point here and re-rolling that, and I roll another 1. So this is just crippling for my warband. Losing the sorcerer, who gives me a range threat, who gives me a means of dealing with some things like trolls, ogres, minotaurs, marauders. Yeah, really, really brutal. And it's going to be pushing uphill here for the rest of this scenario. The rest of my guys make it out. My champion makes it out fine, but the sorcerer is dead. If you're interested in hearing about this game from my opponent's perspective, he also has a YouTube channel at DM Gashbad. I'll have a link in the description. Bye for now.